Welcome to my 2024 Senate prediction for February, so let's start. And there we go. So for the first one, let's start off for the big one for California. So in California, it's really messy because incumbent Feinstein, who is perhaps running for re-election, she says she will not say until 2024 if she's gonna run, even though she would be 91 years old. So there's already people like Katie Porter trying to run in 2024 and has already declared, just like Adam Schiff. So they're hoping she retires. Katie Porter, I mean, they all want Dianne Feinstein to retire. While for the Republicans, there's not much. There's people like Peter Liu and Pandol, but the main thing that Democrats need to not forget is that they need to make sure there's not too many Democrats, because of their system. If we go back to like the last time in 2018, just California Senate election, it was actually Democrat versus Democrat because of their system they use in California. So we go to the results. Democrats need to make sure that they don't put too many Democrat candidates, because it could make it easier for someone like a Republican or two Republicans to go through. There were too many Republicans which split the vote, and that really screwed them over, which is why there were two Democrats, which makes sense because of their jungle primary like election system. And now for Indiana, so Indiana could be really interesting. People forget that yeah, it's an open seat since Mike Braun, the incumbent one-term Republican, is deciding to run for governor instead. And there's people like Jim Banks, Mitch Daniels, the Republican, trying to run. Holcomb. There's many people, as you can see here, because there's not usually a open seat often in Indiana. And for the Democrats, here's why it could get closer, is that because Joe Donnelly, the ambassador to the Holy See and former US Senator from Indiana, could actually decide to run again and try to retake his seat back in 2024. So it could make things more interesting, but still, I do think it would be a safe race for the GOP. And for another one, let's go to Maine. So Maine is really interesting. If you don't know yet, it's actually held by a independent senator, that is Angus King, who technically, I mean, he does caucus with Democrats, but in the past he has run as an independent candidate and has easily won in previous times because of his stance on issues, which is why I do think even if Democrats run a minor candidates, I don't think it'll be enough. It could drop to likely D, just like Indiana perhaps, but I mean likely. And I do see Angus King winning, and he does look like he will run 2024, so Democrats should not have a problem here. For another state, for Minnesota, that is kind of similar in a way to these states. For Minnesota, Amy Klobuchar, I don't think there's a Republican candidate announcing yet, but they will soon most likely announce something. Amy Klobuchar, she's either gonna win here by a solid margin of 12% or a likely margin below 12%, so no matter what, she's gonna win here easily. While for one of the most interesting ones by the media, that really the media wants to see and is really putting a lot of spotlight into, that is Missouri. So Josh Hawley, the incumbent senator, will run for re-election, but Lucas Coons, who ran in 2022 but barely lost the Democrat nomination to Trudy Busch Valentine, is running, and he is quite liked by the media, and he will get a lot of donations for sure, which could help him actually get maybe within likely territory. Whether you like it or not, money does speak a lot in politics and could make a difference. Although I still think it'll be a safe state, barely though. Just like Minnesota, it could drop if depending on the national environment on that and all that sort of stuff. But I see Josh Hawley defeating the Democrat candidate, that being Lucas Coons, by a safe margin. And now for the likely states, let's go to New Jersey. So New Jersey, it's really one that could really be really closer than expected. It could be just a regular Democrat win, but it's Bob Menendez, someone who we all know has a lot of shady dealings and has corruption scandals almost every other year, so that's gonna really sting Democrats. But he is lucky that New Jersey is quite blue in the modern era. Thomas Kean Jr., and Daniel Cruz are hinting at running. Cruz is already gonna run. Shirley Maya Kuzik, she's probably gonna run. But Thomas Keane Jr. would be a decent candidate. Not the greatest, but still an okay candidate by the Republicans. If we go back to 2018, which was a blue wave year, by the way, he barely won by, if I remember correctly, that was 11.2%, yep. And that was in 2018, by the way, a blue wave year, so expect that margin to drop in 2024, which, I mean, who knows what's gonna be. It could be a blue wave year, it could be a red wave year, it could be a neutral year, but no matter what, it's probably gonna be, I do think because of Bob Menendez scandals, all that sort of stuff, it's not gonna be a regular safety Democrat win, but I still think it's probably gonna be if I had to guess, it's gonna be a likely D win for Bob Menendez in 2024. I'm not too sure what the margin could be. It could be anywhere from 10% to 12% to as little as 5% to 7%, depending on a whole lot of issues. And for another state that is on the verge of being between likely and safe, that would be Virginia. So Virginia, this one, as many of you know, depends on if a major candidate by the Republican Party runs, and that is Glenn Youngkin, who could run, even though I think he may just stay as governor. Hung Kao, he doesn't have a Wikipedia page, but Hung Kao will be another person that may run by the Republicans, who is a major Republican in the state. There's people at Chuck Smith, but not too many people know about him. And that said, this really depends on who Tim Kaine goes against. Tim Kaine, as many of you know, he did announce he's running for re-election back in mid to late January, but I think it's gonna be either likely D by, I don't know, 10 to 12% to as little as New Jersey, but it depends on the candidate. If Glenn Youngkin runs, then yeah, he could make it, 5 to 7%. But for now, I'm gonna say high likely D win for Tim Kaine. Also, here's the map for 2018, by the way. You want to see all the margins right here that I've talked about. It's really interesting, yeah, right here. And yeah, I'm gonna use this map for the rest of the video, by the way. Moving on to, let's just go to New Mexico. So for New Mexico, 2018, it was a big win for the Democrats, mostly because there was 3 people running, and actually it was Johnson, who was a 2016 Libertarian candidate, as many of you know, Gary Johnson right here. And now in 2024, yeah, let's just go through here. So in 2024, there's not a picture yet, or I should say a web page, sadly, even though it's almost it's February, of course. So Heinrich is running for re-election, it seems, and no matter what, I do see this race being likely D. I think it's probably gonna be, I don't know, it could be anywhere from 7 to 9% to maybe a high likely D margin or a low likely D margin. Either way, I do see Heinrich winning here against most Republican candidates, even against people like Ron Chetty or anyone else. It's probably going to be a likely D win in 2024. And let's move on to more of the kind of closer states. So I could either talk about West Virginia or Florida, but let's start off with Florida because it's trending to the right. So for Florida, oh wait, no, wrong page. So for Florida, let me go right here. It is a race that it is going more and more to the GOP as in the past. And finally, let's go here. Finally, so Rick Scott is officially running for re-election. He is a bit of a underperformer. He barely won in 2018, as you can see here. Bill Nelson just had a bad campaign, and now he's gonna run. There's people like Byron Donalds, whom you may know in the House, who could try to primary Rick Scott, but I think he's got the nomination in the bag. And most importantly, the only person that I could see making Florida be within 6% or something like that would be Stephanie Murphy, more of a centrist Democrat, and would do quite well. But still, it's Florida, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like Rick Scott almost winning by a safe margin, or even by a safe margin. It could actually happen. It wouldn't be something people already, like, inside elections have this as solid R. If it wasn't for Rick Scott, I would put this safe, to be honest, but Rick Scott, he does like a lot of issues, charisma and everything, but even then, he's gonna get carried by whoever the Republican nominee is, because it's probably gonna be either Trump or DeSantis, and they're gonna carry Florida by almost, it could be even by 10% or more. So yeah, Rick Scott, he's basically got in the bag, and he's probably gonna win here. I'm gonna say low likely D, but we will see what happens. And now for West Virginia. So West Virginia, in 2018, it was a Manchin win by a lean D margin, but now in 2024, it's looking quite difficult for him, especially because there's a big one potentially running, and that is Jim Justice, former Blue Dog Democrat, who is the incumbent governor of West Virginia. He still has not announced yet, even though he would, if he has heavily hinted that he wants to run, and we're just waiting on his decision to run. If he does, I mean, I would say that the race is basically over at that point because of Jim Justice's past incumbency, being a former Democrat, so he would get a lot of those Manchin voters that still do vote Democrats, and could he probably the only Republican that I could see winning West Virginia Senate by a safe margin. Still, that's too early to make a call like that. Whether it's Jim Justice or Alex Mooney, Republicans are probably going to take this. It just depends on the margin, and I see really Joe Manchin being in a tough spot. But for now, until Jim Justice runs, I'm going to have this as a low likely R. I think, yeah, did I say likely D win here? I'm sorry about that. I should have said likely R win for the Republicans here. Oh man, whatever. And let's go to another likely state for Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania in 2018, it was a landslide win for Bob Casey Jr. against Lou Barletta, who almost got the nomination for governor in 2022. But yeah, that might have been a gift in disguise for him in the future. In 2024, it looks like Bob Casey is running for re-election. He has not said anything, and he may run against Doug Mastriano, who was the failed 2022 Republican nominee. Yeah, in 2022, Doug Mastriano has hinted he wants to run yet again. He probably only needs the Trump endorsement to get the nomination, but there's also people like that could get the Trump endorsement. We could actually see someone like Kathy Barnett get the Trump endorsement. I think he barely endorsed Dr. Ross instead of Kathy Barnett or Kathy Barnett because Dr. Ross in 2022. But yeah, he could actually run again. Even though I doubt that. Dr. Ross, he was Trump's friend from a long time ago. So Dr. Ross could run again. David McCormick, who got second place in the 2022 Senate GOP primary, he's probably the front runner. I would say that a lot of the Republican Pennsylvania GOP is backing McCormick to run, even though he has a lot of carpetbagger problems, like being from Connecticut and all that sort of stuff. Kathy Barnett, we will see who endorses, but no matter what, this race is really in a tough spot for the GOP, and I see Bob Casey easily winning by a likely D margin. No matter who the nominee is, Democrats are in a great spot in Pennsylvania, and the only way this could get competitive if Bob Casey retires, and even then, it would only drop to lean D. And yeah, easy Democrat would win there, and I think that's it for the likely states if I'm not mistaken. So let's stay in the Rust Belt actually for really one of the races that has had a big update for Michigan. So if you didn't know yet, or if you didn't see my post before, Stepanow is actually retiring, which is something not a lot of people expected to happen. Yep, and she's retiring just because, I don't know how old Stepanow was, but I think she was 75 years old, something like that. Or would have been 75. Yep, she would be like 74 years old and 73 years old in 2024. And the field is really wide open right now. There's so many Democrat nominees. There's some people that have rejected the nomination, like Gretchen Whitmer, who wants to stay as a Democrat governor. There's Pete Buttigieg, who would have made the race really competitive because he would have been a carpetbagger, Indiana to Michigan. And the race is really Slotkin, Garland, Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist. There's also people like Benson, but I think it's probably gonna be either Slotkin or the lieutenant governor currently. And for the GOP, they don't have too many great candidates. Perry Johnson, Ruth Johnson. There's also people like John James, who probably is the. I mean, he's the best nominee, but he's not the greatest. He's probably like a B tier candidate. But because it's the Michigan GOP, there's not that many people. There's Peter Meyer, but he's not gonna get the Trump endorsement. Dustin Amash, he may run in the Republican primary, or he could actually be the Libertarian candidate, which would be really bad news for the GOP. Still, in this update, this race drops down from likely D due to incumbency advantage of Stabenow just now disappearing to lean D. I'm not too sure what the margin will be. I'm gonna say it's gonna be like 2% to 4%. Whether Slotkin or Lieutenant Governor Gretchen Whitmer, they're gonna win here, I think, unless there's a huge red wave in 2024. But easy, I think it'd be a relatively okay Democrat win. And now for Wisconsin, so Wisconsin 2024, it's gonna be Baldwin against I think Mike Gallagher, who's the frontrunner for the GOP. Yep, Mike Gallagher, who is already pivoting to the center and tells you that he's probably gonna run in 2024 for the Republican nomination. And Gallagher is an okay nominee, but Tammy Baldwin, as long as she stays and she doesn't retire, I think this race will be in the Democrats' favor. And I have this race being lean D. I'm not too sure what the margin will be, but I do think it will be the same margin as Michigan, perhaps. Still, I do see Baldwin winning here by probably the same margin as Michigan, by 2 to 4% currently. And now for Texas, so Texas in 2018 was barely a Ted Cruz win against Beto O'Rourke, and Beto O'Rourke, he's probably not going to run in 2024. He is a way weaker version. After he ran in 2020, his appeal really went down the drain, and the Republican nominee is probably going to be Ted Cruz, who has announced he's likely going to run. I mean, he has already declared, so. There's also people like Dan Crenshaw who decide to decline the nomination. It's really between Colin Alfred, but currently the Democrats' bench is really weak. We might see someone like one of the Castro brothers running in 2024, but it wouldn't be enough for the Democrats if one of the Castro brothers is the nominee. Really, it's not gonna happen at the moment unless Trump runs third party or something like that. And I see Ted Cruz winning re-election. I'm not too sure. The margin could be anywhere from a low lean margin of 1 to 3% to a high lean margin of 3 to 5%. But for now, I'm gonna leave it as a lean D win. And let's go to Nevada. So for Nevada, in 2018, it was a Jackie Rosen win of 5% against Dean Heller, who was the incumbent Republican back then. And now Jackie Rosen, the main people she's gonna probably face is Sam Brown, who got second place in the GOP primary back in 2022. Right here, as you can see, and that usually happens when someone gets second place in the primary. They usually get the nomination 2 years later. There's also people like Rick Harrison, who is very good friends with Donald Trump and a lot of those people. I don't think he runs for Senate. I don't know. I don't think he does, so I'm guessing it's either gonna be Adam Laxalt. I mean, it doesn't say he's interested though. I may have missed that news, so I'm gonna say Sam Brown, the candidate in 2020 and former veteran, will likely be the GOP nominee. Still, I'm not too sure. I still think Jackie Rosen has it, and she will likely win here. I'm gonna say by something like 1 to 3%, a low lean margin, but still I think the Democrats will win it in 2024 in the Senate. I'm not too sure about the presidential race, but Jackie Rosen should win here as expected. And now for really the more, I think these are the tilt races. So for the really extremely close competitive races are the most really the ones that could have any major change at any given moment for Arizona. So this is a race that, as many of you know, already could have an independent candidate, meaning we could have a three-way race here. So, Kristen Sinema is running as an independent candidate already, but Ruben Gallego, the Democrat House representative, in 2024, there's other people, but the party, I mean, some of the Democrats are going for Ruben Gallego. There's some people like Gillibrand, who is likely to back Kristen Sinema, but we will see. Well, for the GOP, we could see Blake Masters be that GOP nominee in 2024. It could also be someone like Carrie Lake, who may get the Trump endorsement. There's also people like Carrie Lake, Carrie Lake kind of endorsed Mark Lamb in 2022 and 2023 recently, and he basically is a lot like Carrie Lake, but if Carrie Lake doesn't run, then you're probably gonna see Mark Lamb get the nomination. There's also people like Robson, but she ain't gonna get the Trump endorsement. Cisco Mani, and most importantly, wait, Andy Biggs. Yeah, Andy Biggs probably should be in here. Andy Biggs is probably the front runner at the moment. He probably get this nomination because of, it depends, because Blake Masters and Carrie Lake have that loser stigma, and this is really a true toss-up by all means. Doug Ducey also decided to decline, by the way, and this is a true toss-up by all means because how different and this election is. It's a three-way race currently, so this could either mean we see something like a Republican win by a likely margin, a lean margin, or a tilt margin, or we could see the same. We could see a likely D win for the Democrats, a lean D win for the Democrats, and a tilt win for the Democrats. But currently, because of the bad candidates by the GOP, and by bad I mean electability wise and loser stigma, I do have Democrats barely winning here, and I have Ruben Gallego winning here by a tilt margin. Because of the fact that Democrats just have the funding, they have more momentum, and they have better tactics, simply put, than Republicans at getting voters. I do think Ruben Gallego would narrowly win, although this race rating could go at any given direction in the future. But for now, I'm gonna leave it as a tilt win. For Montana, Jon Tester is probably gonna run. He is still thinking of whether to run or not, and that's a big issue for Democrats. He is interested, but as he said, he really wants to be with his family, so that's because of the Montana to DC flight that takes a lot of his time. For the GOP, it's really between Rosendale, who is a bit of a meh candidate. There's also Zinke, who's an even worse candidate, a really underperformer. The best one would be, I guess, John Forte, the governor of Montana, and probably the only one I would see having a decent chance of defeating Jon Tester. Currently, it does seem like either Ryan Zinke or Matt Rosendale will get the nomination, and both of them are pretty meh. And I expect the Libertarians, expect the Democrats to perhaps run a Libertarian candidate, just like they did to help, not run, but to help a Libertarian candidate be on the ticket, similar to what we saw in the Kansas governor race, which is why I do see Jon Tester barely winning in Montana by a tilt margin. I got no idea what the margin will be, but I do think that currently Jon Tester has the advantage, even though if he retires, this would be an easy flip for the Republicans. And now for Ohio, a state that is trending to the right to some extent. We don't know fully, but it is trending easily to the right as seen by 2022. And Sherrod Brown, the incumbent Democratic senator, is running for re-election. And there's a lot of Republican nominees. Josh Mandel, who was by far the weakest candidate, declined to run, even though ironically it probably would have been his best chance at winning. There's Matt Dolan, who is more of a anti-Trump Republican, which is why I don't see him getting the nomination. And in my opinion, it's basically between Warren Davidson, and Frank LaRose, the Ohio Secretary of State. So we're gonna see a House representative going against the Ohio Secretary of State in the GOP primary, and I do see both of them having a chance at defeating Sherrod Brown in 2024. And even though Democrats really only need one surprise win in 2024 to retain the Senate, Ohio is looking quite rough for them, which is why I do have this still as a tilt or win for the GOP, although a lot of these races could change at any given moment if someone retires or someone declines to run or something like that. But as you can see, I currently have the GOP winning and retaking the Senate back in 2024 with 51 seats It gives the Democrats 49 seats. Thank you for watching, feel free to leave a like, join the channel membership, and see you next time.